Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. Today we are pleased to welcome back Jeff Bloomfield, who is an author, sales keynote speaker, and also founder and CEO of Braintrust. The last time he joined us, he broke down the science of neuro-selling, and today we are diving even deeper into how leaders and sales teams can use it to drive growth. So Jeff, thank you so much for joining us once again on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
To remind our audience that's tuning in this morning, tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, we'll see if we can put a hook. So if you like baling hay, milking cows, storytelling, lung cancer, brain cancer, and small business, then
wow,
that's my backstory. So I grew up on a farm in Ohio. My papa was really my guy. He was an amazing storyteller. So hence the baling hay and the milking cows. And he was a great communicator, great storyteller, just an 8th grade education. But for those of you who know, a farm is a small business. So I learned a lot about running a business growing up with him. And then the lung cancer came in, which is actually what took his life. And I was, I was really at a crossroads when he passed because he was my guy.
Sure.
That led me into going on to college. I ended up in biotech. I got to commercialize a drug for lung cancer.
Wow.
And then
that's pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Divine intervention, a little bit of all these things kind of coming together. And then it ended up, I was helping lead a team to launch our brain cancer indication for a drug. And that's when the light bulb started popping for me that we were able to actually look at the brain at a deeper level. We could map it to determine how it processed information, what was happening in just general conversations. And I started to recognize the patterns that many communicators who are really successful were doing intuitively well, but not always intentionally well, so therefore not consistently well. And so I decided, well, I'm just going to leave industry and start a company where we actually work with PhD researchers around the brain, but specifically to help leaders lead better, coach better, and then sellers communicate with customers better. So that's the birth of Braintrust.
That's fantastic. You've been doing it about 14 years?
Yeah, just about 14 years.
That is fantastic. And of course, that's Braintrust, right?
That's right.
That's fantastic. So let's dive a little bit deeper. Last time that you were in, as I mentioned, you kind of touched on these particular topics, but so let's drill down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you want leaders to know about this.
Well, here's what I tell leaders, and it doesn't matter whether you're in the auto industry, running a small business, leading a professional sports team. It doesn't matter what the sphere is. Under pressure, the way the body works, under pressure, you don't rise to the level of your potential. You fall to the level of your habits. And so I ask a lot of leaders, what are your habits? And I don't just mean, you get up and work out in the morning, you eat healthy. Those are great. What I ask them is what are your leadership communication habits? In times of stress, because we get leaky in those moments because we don't really quite understand from an emotional standpoint what's happening. So we're more reactive than we are really good. Yep, all of us, right? All of us, yeah. So it's a really good principle for leaders to understand what's happening inside their brain. I tell folks the most important story you're going to hear all day is the one you're telling yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have that little devil and little angel storytellers, right?
From the time you get up in the morning, right?
That's right.
And it's so difficult sometimes to beat that devil down and
it is.
Come out. My wife and I've got this routine every morning. We say, give me 5 things that you're most grateful for, to try to get us back on track in a positive way, right?
Well, and you say that, and there's a science behind that. Because gratitude, when you're in a posture of gratitude, you can't be in a posture of gratitude and anxiety at the same time.
Right.
So it makes sense for us, right?
When
we live in a posture of gratitude, you're already framing the brain in a positive way.
Right. What do you say to those people that are listening to us right now? They go, that's poppycock. You got to get out there and beat the bushes and tell these guys and gals, how it's got to be done today, right?
Listen, my papa, my grandfather was a World War II medic and from the Army. My dad was a Marine from Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we beat a lot of we beat a lot of there was a lot of that happening. And but what we've learned is that what is the outcome you're desiring? And if you say, well, the outcome is I want high performance, the outcome is I want higher sales, the outcome is I want fill in the blank. Well, what's the path to getting there? Because if I lead with a lot of compliance, if I lead with a lot of the micromanagement techniques, that's actually, I just want leaders to recognize, it's born out of a place of fear. So you're operating out of a place of fear, either fear of your failure, fear of the team's failure. So then you become transactional. When you become transactional, you activate the wrong neurochemistry in your team. they actually go self-preservation oriented, and they cannot be creative, they can't be problem solvers, and they really can't even hear you.
Yeah.
So the question is not, this is science. The question is, you can go that direction. Is it serving you the best it could be? Because people will respond in the moment, but they don't actually transform. They don't actually change over time. So.
And while as leaders, we're always training those that are under us and those that we lead on how to be a leader one day in our companies, right? I mean, that's where we're going to get tomorrow's leaders of our businesses, is probably the people that are working for us. So if we're not a good example of leadership, because we do default to those modes, we're only hurting the company long term, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It really is something. So
we defeat our own succession plan purposes many times.
Exactly.
The way we lead,
Exactly. And we're wondering how come these people aren't performing at such a higher level. What are the biggest mistakes that, you mentioned a couple of them, but what are the biggest mistakes that salespeople and leaders make when trying to influence or persuade?
Well, one thing is, I ask the question, if I observed you communicating, whether it be coaching an employee or whether it be talking to a customer, would I be able to tell whose agenda you're on? The answer is yes, I would be able to. So the style and approach with which you communicate will tell me whose agenda you are on. And most leaders who become managers, they want to manage, which is control the directive of the employee. The employee feels resistance to that. It's both psychological, physiological. And for sellers, it's the same thing. So if I'm communicating because I'm under pressure, I got to make commission, I got to do all this self-preservation is welling up in me, I will then transfer that into a more transactional, self-serving communication style, which then activates defensiveness on the part of the customer. So that's the big thing. The big thing is, whose agenda are you on? Are you really focused on not selling, but serving by solving? And that's both for coaches and managers as well as salespeople.
Yeah, for sure. And how can leaders use neuro-based communication strategies to better coach and motivate their teams?
One of the things that we really believe, and the research backs this up, and this is for all leaders, is great organizations are built off of shared vision. And shared vision has three elements. It has organizational vision with values, leader vision and values, and then employee vision and values. I ask a lot of leaders, one of the first questions I say is, how many folks work for you? 8. If I went and asked your 8 employees whether or not you knew their personal vision and their top 3 values, could they say, yeah, absolutely? And the answer is rarely yes, right?
Well, Jeff, thanks for coming in today.
Right. Well, we don't put the time in that because it feels soft, it feels fluffy. It's foundational for trust.
Sure.
And if I know your vision, your personal vision when I hired you, and you know my leader vision, and we're aligned on the organizational vision and direction, and we're based on the collective universal values, we already have a foundation for trust. That's shared vision. And then we can move into aligned mission. That's where the strategy and then the standards of excellence come in. And that's where the next pitfall happens for a lot of leaders, is they don't have defined standards of excellence by role inside the organization. Therefore, I don't know what you expect from me. And if you don't define those standards of excellence, you'll keep, as a manager, as a leader, you'll keep going, why is this not happening? You're like, I'm not sure. What am I supposed to be doing? What am I measured against? So those are 2 big ones. Shared vision, aligned mission with clear standards is huge. Get those 2 things right, and you're already way ahead of most organizations.
That's right. And in a lot of organizations, that theoretically should come from the top down, the owner of the company, the president of the company, what have you. But if the company is a good size, sometimes it can happen just with your sales manager or the leader of your particular team that institutes that, right?
Yeah, it does happen at all levels, right? So there's organizational vision is really done at the top, but it's directional, it's aspirational. The values are also part of the organization's vision and values. But then at every level, every leader should be able to say, well, what's my interpretation of the vision, not just of the organization, but me as a leader inside of our direction? And then how do my values help me show up every day in my role?
Sure. And these are the kinds of things that your team actually wants to have a discussion like this with you, right? If you're the leader, if you're leading them. I mean, this is something that it would seem to me that they say, wow, this individual is really serious about this and wants to take an interest in what I'm doing in terms of what my values are and goals, right?
Yeah, and I think what we set out to do was, we've all had these in our career where you had a manager or leader where you're like, man, I would run through a wall for that guy or that lady.
Sure.
Well, what is it about those people? Well, it's literally a neuroscience. It's neuroscience. Like they have done such a good job of building trust with you, making you believe that they care about you. More than just what you can produce, but as a person. They want you to develop. They want you to succeed. It feels bigger than themselves as a leader. And that's not easy to do. You can't just show up. Some people are naturally inclined to be empathic, right? But a lot of leaders, you learn this. You learn this as a strategy. not because you're faking it, but because genuinely that's who you want to be.
Right.
It's just under stress, we don't always show up that way.
That's right. That's right. And it can be a learned skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Braintrust. That's
Absolutely.
That's what you do, right?
Absolutely.
Where does technology and AI fit into the future of neuro-selling? I mean, we hear so much about AI, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think one day we might just be two holograms sitting here with AI.
I'll have to come in studio anymore. I could just pipe it in.
Can it help or hurt the authentic connections out there?
Both.
Okay.
Both. And let me be specific what I mean. Earlier I said under pressure you don't rise to the level of your potential,
Sure.
you fall to the level of your habits.
Right.
Habits are only formed through repetition.
Okay.
And repetition of doing the right behaviors.
Yeah.
So one of the things we've recognized, especially in sales and a little bit more in coaching as well, is how do you give sellers more shots on goal with the right behaviors through repetition? AI. So AI platforms today are tremendous. We've built one where sellers can go in and practice all day if they want against a real customer avatar. And then you can actually pipe in real recorded calls if you want to give them like game film. So instead of taking 1, 3, 6 months for a seller to get up to plane and actually productive, you can do it in a matter of weeks.
Okay.
That's where AI is amazing because it's helping with repetition.
Of course.
Now the counter to that coin, like the other side of that coin is you're losing that human connection if you don't have that interaction with actual humans while you're doing this.
Sure.
And so same with coaching. I can go practice coaching scenarios with an AI all day long.
Right.
And it feels safer to me.
Sure.
But then at some point I actually have to have that conversation with a human.
Yeah, you
right?
do.
So
Right.
it's that balance between, just don't lose the connection because emotional contagion is real.
Right.
We're meant to be together as humans. It's how we're designed. The energy we get is not possible with an AI. So use the AI for habits, for efficiencies.
Okay.
But then go and lock in, use what you learn to become a better communicator in your real life with real people.
Sure. There's so many companies out there that will, in order to grow their business, they'll say, hey, obviously, go to the sales team and say, we need 10% more, or they'll take a tremendous amount of dollars and throw them at advertising to get more people in. Few companies will take the time to say, let's delve into something like a neuroscience for the leaders and the teams that we have, right? Tell us a little bit about that. And then also share with us what Braintrust brings and what you guys do for companies.
Yeah, I think the big thing is what are you doing to invest in your people, period? And everyone has their own philosophy. They have their own, here's the budget that we put towards that.
Sure.
What I would encourage leaders who are listening is don't just have a budget for employee development, people development, doesn't matter what department you're in, and say, well, we got to go do something. Let's go bring in a motivational speaker. Or let's go do a workshop on change management or time management.
Exactly.
Like
check the box.
Yeah, don't check the box with your budget. Think about the actual outcomes that you're looking for in your business, and then think backwards to what are the skills required to accomplish those, and then now what are the behaviors that I need to reinforce to make those skills habits.
Right.
Now invest your budget there.
Right.
And so for many times when we specialize in communication effectiveness, in coaching and in selling. Well, tell me 2 more important lanes in your organization to be successful.
Yeah.
There's the external conversation with customers, and then there's the internal conversation happening with employees.
That's right.
Where's the most success come from, and where's the most conflict come from?
Right.
Those 2 areas.
Sure.
So invest your resources in, whether it's there or not, invest them in places that you can measure.
Right.
And you can actually identify and quantify are actually getting you closer to your outcomes.
That's right. That's fantastic. And your company does that. That's what
we do.
you bring to the table.
Yeah, we do.
Large and small, doesn't matter how many people you've got working in the company, these situations still exist, whether you have a team of 8 or whether you have a team of 800, right?
Exactly right. And we've worked from companies as Fortune 50 all the way down to small entrepreneurial startups.
Yeah.
Because the problems that we're solving are the same. They might look different scale, different magnitude, different environments, but the issue of it is still the same. So we always wanted to make sure we could provide the same solutions across the board because we have a heart for small business. We are one.
Yeah, of course.
And we want to make sure we're serving those entrepreneurs and those small business owners, not just the big companies with the big budgets.
Is this one of those things too that where somebody says, well, when we're successful and we have enough money, we've got a big enough team, we'll go ahead and address this, right? It's like saying, we'll get the trademark when we go national. No,
exactly.
You kind of need it early on, right? Yeah. And that's a mistake I think business owners make.
It is, but it's an understandable one because
you're
looking at every penny that goes in and out of the organization, and you want to make sure that if I'm putting in $1, I need to get 4 back, or it's not a good investment.
Right.
That's why I always tell entrepreneurs and small business owners especially, make sure you're investing in things that you can measure. And sometimes employee development, unfortunately, falls into a category where a lot of folks out there don't give you the metrics, the ROI.
That's right.
And how do you measure? Make sure that you're measuring those things, because that's when you can feel good about it. Otherwise, you're like, I think I just wasted another 20 grand or 10 grand or whatever it is on something that I can't measure.
Well, and in doing something like this or bringing this into your organization as the founder or the manager of that business, you've got responsibilities to a program like this. You can't just throw a bunch of people in a room and say, okay, Jeff, go ahead and work your magic and talk to these people without you being involved in it, right? You're kind of the secret sauce as the manager or the owner of that business, right, to make this happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Leaders and managers are force multipliers in their business, and they should be leading first, right? They should be going first. So anything you're investing in with your people, and it always frustrates me sometimes when I see a leader do that. Well, they'll say, well, I'm going to send my people to this training, or I'm going to invest in my people to do this development plan, and then they're nowhere to be found.
Right,
like
big mistake.
It's a huge mistake.
It really is. Yeah.
Both because they're missing out on the development themselves, but
That's
it's the example. The people don't think that it applies to you.
Well, you're almost ensuring a failure situation, because when those people come back and they see the disconnect, they're like, well, you're nothing like what Jeff talked about, and and what we're learning over here. You're the exact opposite.
Wish he was in the room, right?
Exactly. Wish he was in the room. That's right. That's right. So our message today is this is very, very good stuff, but make sure that you're involved in it. Don't just send people to an event like this, or I shouldn't say an event, but training like this, and say, okay, we checked the box. This is for our people, but it's not necessarily for us. We're the owners of the company. Big mistake.
You bring up one other point that I think is really important for leaders today is learning skills and increasing habits. It's not an episodic event.
Yeah.
It can't be, and we've learned that. Like, it has to happen over time. So set your expectations correctly. Invest in your people over time so that they can develop over time. That's the other thing. We live in a culture. We live in a fast food drive-through, get it now, Uber culture. Right. So you're not great at sales. Press this button, and then tomorrow you'll be better at sales. That's not how it works.
As my father used to say, it's like saying, well, I want to be a quarterback, so I went to an NFL game this Sunday and I watched it.
Yeah, I'm great.
So I'm ready.
To go.
I'm ready to hit the field. It doesn't work that way.
Not at all.
We have also a saying here that training isn't something you did, it's something you do.
Absolutely.
It's got to be ongoing, right, for anything like this to work. So, Jeff Bloomfield, founder and CEO of Braintrust. He's also an author, keynote speaker. I'm sure that you speak all over North America, right? And
I do. All over the world, actually.
All over the world.
Yeah, I'm going to go international.
That's really fun. Fantastic. For companies out there that want to light up and really bring some real substance to your next event out there, check him out. We'll also have a link right underneath the video that you're watching to get a hold of Jeff and to learn more about his program. So, Jeff, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.